Kakeibo, the Japanese way to manage money through mindfulness. What if the problem with your money isn't how much you earn but how you think? For years, we've been taught to treat money like math. Earn more, spend less, save the rest. Simple, logical, efficient. And yet, so many people still feel anxious, guilty, or exhausted every time they open their banking app. Because money is never just numbers. It's emotion, identity, fear, desire, control. In a world obsessed with hustle culture, financial hacks, and optimization, Japan offers a radically quieter approach. One that asks you to pause before you calculate, to reflect before you restrict. It's called Kakeibo, not a budgeting app. Not a spreadsheet. Not a system designed to squeeze every dollar dry. Kakeibo is a mindfulness-based money practice that treats finances as part of a meaningful life, not the center of it. Instead of asking how can I spend less, Kakeibo was why am I spending it all? What kind of life am I trying to build? And what is money actually for? In T-Spees we'll explore the philosophy behind Kakeibo, how it works, and why its century-old wisdom feels more relevant than ever in an age of burnout, overconsumption, and financial anxiety. Because maybe the goal isn't to control money harder, but to relate to it more wisely. Spend well, save well, live well. Modern personal finance is often framed as a technical problem. You are told to calculate your income, subtract your expenses, automate your savings, and optimize whatever remains. If the numbers add up, you're doing it right. If they don't, you're failing. The logic feels clean, efficient, and rational. Yet for many people, this approach quietly breaks down. Despite budgeting apps, spreadsheets, and financial advice flooding the internet, millions still feel anxious about money. They oscillate between overspending out of exhaustion and over-controlling every purchase out of fear. The math may be correct, but the emotional experience remains unresolved. This is because money is not just a mathematical system. It is a psychological one. Every financial decision is entangled with values, identity, stress, desire, fear, and social pressure. When budgeting systems ignore this human complexity, they may look effective on paper while failing in real life. Kakeibo, the Japanese method of money management, begins with a radically different assumption. Before money can be managed well, it must be understood mindfully. Rather than starting with calculations, Kakeibo starts with reflection. Rather than focusing on control, it emphasizes awareness. And rather than treating money as an end goal, it positions money as a tool to support a meaningful life. The problem with treating money as a cold math equation, many people approach their finances the way they would approach a spreadsheet at work. Income goes in, expenses come out, and savings are whatever survives the process. This method assumes that financial behavior is rational and consistent, when in reality it is neither. Every day, we face countless financial decisions that compete for our limited resources. Should you cook at home or eat out after a long day? Replace your worn clothes now or wait another month? Pay for preventive healthcare or save for an uncertain future emergency? None of these choices exist in isolation. They are shaped by mood, stress, social expectations, and personal values. This cognitive load is exhausting. Over time, many people respond by drifting toward one of two extremes. Some disengage entirely, spending mindlessly to avoid the stress of constant others overcorrect, micromanaging every expense and living as if their life is subordinate to their budget. Neither extreme leads to peace. Kakeibo emerges as a response to this imbalance. It recognizes that sustainable financial habits require emotional clarity, not just numerical precision. The goal is not to dominate money, but to understand it well enough that it no longer dominates you. The origins of Kakeibo: simplicity with purpose. Kakeibo, pronounced Kakeibo, was developed in 1904 by Honeymoon, Japan's first female journalist, and later a publisher of a women's magazine. At the time, many women managed household finances under tight constraints, often with little formal financial education and limited income. Motoko did not design Kakeibo as a tool for maximizing wealth. She designed it as a method for helping people align their spending with their values and goals. The word Kakeibo itself simply means household account, reflecting its humble and practical origins. What made Kakeibo revolutionary was not its accounting structure, but its philosophy. It treated money management as a reflective practice, one that required awareness of intention, emotion, and purpose. This philosophy echoes broader Japanese aesthetic and cultural principles that value minimalism, balance, and harmony. Just as traditional Japanese arts strip away excess to reveal essence, Kakeibo removes unnecessary complexity so people can focus on what truly matters in their financial lives. Before the numbers, mindfulness as the foundation, Kakeibo begins not with a ledger, but with 4 questions. These questions are deceptively simple, yet deeply revealing. How much income do you make each month? How much would you like to save? How much are you currently spending? Where would you like to improve? These questions are not meant to be answered mechanically. They are meant to initiate self-examination. They force you to confront the gap between your intentions and your behavior, between the life you want and the money habits you currently have. This approach aligns with what financial thinkers describe as first principles thinking. Instead of asking, "How do I optimize my budget?" you ask, "What kind of life am I trying to support? And how should my money serve that life?" This shift is critical. It reframes money from a scorecard into a resource. It acknowledges a fundamental truth. You can afford many things if you plan carefully, but you cannot afford everything. Every financial choice is also a life choice. Managing money, then, becomes a practice in managing attention, energy, and priorities. In T-Sensei, budgeting is not separate from living, it is a reflection of how you live. Accepting limits without shame. A core principle underlying Kakeibo is acceptance of limits. Money is finite. Time is finite. Energy is finite. Pretending otherwise leads to stress, denial, and eventual burnout. This acceptance is not pessimistic.
It is liberating.
When you acknowledge that you cannot have everything, you are free to choose what truly matters. Scarcity becomes clarity rather than deprivation. Kakeibo does not shame people for their financial constraints. Instead, it invites them to work honestly within those constraints. There is no moral judgment attached to spending or saving outcomes. The goal is not perfection, but understanding. This mindset is especially powerful in a culture that often equates spending with success and restraint with failure. Kakeibo quietly challenges this narrative by asking a more meaningful question. Does this spending align with the life I want to live? The 4 categories. Simplicity that reveals meaning. After establishing mindfulness and intention, Kakeibo introduces structure. At the beginning of each month, you calculate your income and subtract fixed expenses such as rent, utilities, and bills. What remains is the amount available for spending and saving. Every expense is then recorded and placed into one of 4 categories. Essentials include necessities like groceries, gas, and basic household items. Non-essentials include discretionary spending such as dining out, entertainment, and leisure activities. Culture includes books, education, charity, museums, and activities that promote personal growth and meaning. This categorization is intentionally broad. Unlike budgeting systems that fragment spending into dozens of micro-categories, Kakeibo keeps the structure simple to preserve clarity. The purpose is not to track everything obsessively, but to understand the nature of your spending. By assigning expenses to these categories, you begin to see patterns not just in what you spend, but why you spend. A purchase can shift categories depending on context, reinforcing mindfulness rather than rigid rules. Writing it down, why the medium matters. Traditional Kakeibo emphasizes handwritten ledgers. Writing by hand slows the process, creating a moment of pause between impulse and action. Research suggests that handwriting enhances memory and deepens engagement, making spending more conscious. However, Kakeibo is not anti-technology. Digital tools can serve the same purpose if they are used mindfully. What matters is consistency and honesty. Your ledger should reflect reality, not aspiration. The act of recording expenses is not meant to induce guilt. It is meant to generate data. Over time, this data becomes insight. Insight becomes confidence, and confidence fosters motivation. Monthly reflection, learning without judgment. At the end of the month, Kakeibo invites review. You examine how much you spent in each category and how much you saved. You compare the results to your original intentions. Did you save what you hoped to save? Were your essential costs realistic? Did Did non-essential purchases feel worthwhile in hindsight? Did unexpected expenses reveal areas where preparation could help? Importantly, Kakeibo rejects shame. There is no winning or losing. Mistakes are not failures. They are information. Each month becomes a feedback loop, guiding adjustments for the next cycle. This process builds resilience. Rather than abandoning budgets after setbacks, practitioners learn to adapt. Financial management becomes iterative rather than punitive. Nagomi, the philosophy of balance beneath Kakeibo. Underlying Kakeibo is the Japanese philosophy of Nagomi, which centers on harmony, balance, and sustainability. Nagomi does not promise shortcuts to wealth or happiness. Instead, it emphasizes integrating the positive aspects of life while acknowledging its difficulties. Applied to money, Nagomi encourages balance between saving and living, between planning for the future and appreciating the present. This is why Kakeibo includes a category for culture. Growth, learning, and generosity are not luxuries. They are essential components of a meaningful life. Money, in this framework, is not an object of control, but a partner in cultivating balance. It supports life rather than dictating it. Adaptability, making Kakeibo your own. Kakeibo has evolved over more than a century, adapting to different lifestyles and economic contexts. Its strength lies in its flexibility. Categories can be adjusted. New ones can be added. The system grows with the individual. What must remain constant is alignment with first principles. Any modification should serve clarity, not complexity. The moment the system becomes burdensome, it loses its purpose. By focusing on essence rather than optimization, Kakeibo avoids the trap of financial perfectionism. It acknowledges that life changes, priorities shift, and budgets must evolve accordingly. Living well through financial awareness. Kakeibo teaches that financial health is not measured solely by savings rates or net worth. It is measured by the quality of your relationship with money. When spending aligns with values, saving supports peace of mind, and financial decisions feel intentional, money becomes a quiet support rather than a constant source of stress. In a world obsessed with financial hacks and rapid optimization, Kakeibo offers something rarer, calm. It invites us to slow down, reflect, and use money as a tool for living well, rather than as a measure of worth. By shedding the extraneous and focusing on essence, Kakeibo helps people spend with meaning, save with purpose, and live with balance both now and in the future.